everybody. I'm so happy to be here with my friend Rachel Sumek. She's the founder and CEO of Swipe Out Hunger. That's the nation's leading nonprofit that addresses hunger on college campuses. And she's the architect of this bill called the Hunger Free Campus Bill. It has sent more than $70 million to colleges across 4 different states to fund anti-hunger programs on college campuses. And her work's been recognized in all these amazing places. But before we get into all of that and the policy work, I want to just welcome Rachel and ask her, how did you get started with this? Like, what is Swipe Out Hunger and how does it work?
Thank you so much, Ruth. This is such an exciting opportunity to talk about hunger at our local community colleges and at Westchester. The issue of hunger is something that's always been proximate to me. I grew up in a home that relied on programs like SNAP, but those programs helped us achieve the American dream. And my parents never talked to me about what it took for us to get where we were now. So the stigma element of it was very clear to me once I did learn how important it is for us to be talking about this. So thank you to everyone who's here and talking about hunger and poverty, because only when we talk about them can we address the stigma and actually work on real solutions. So my pathway into actually being an activist on hunger happened when I was a college student at UCLA, and my friends and I had extra money in our meal plans, and we convinced our school to let us donate those credits to other students on campus who are hungry. Never anticipated this to go beyond UCLA, but now we've been able to replicate that program and other anti-hunger programs onto over 145 colleges across the US. So now I am very much a hunger advocate. It's an issue that I've really become a student of and work to bring more people into our movement.
It's amazing. And I'm thinking about like the actual mechanics of it. Can you say a little more about your main program, like why you use the word swipe and how this translates into student groups and student leadership on campus?
Yeah, so for those of you watching who went to a college and paid for a meal plan, whether you lived in the dorms or maybe you recently purchased one for someone else, what you have to do is buy a prepaid card that you unfortunately cannot get refunded, and those credits don't roll over from year to year or even semester to semester. And many students, NYU did a study and they found that after one semester, there was $500,000 of credits left over on students' meal cards. So that's just one campus in one semester.
And wait, does NYU get to keep that?
And NYU keeps that and uses it however their hearts desire. In fact, many universities, up to 60% of the dollars that they make off of food go to fund other things on campus. So in a lot of ways, food isn't seen as a basic human need anymore on campus. It's seen as a revenue source, which touches on a larger problem of how our higher ed needs to be refunded. But our work has always been centered around partnership. If there are students that are hungry and there's dining hall experts who are really good at feeding people, why aren't we bringing them into the conversation? And our original Swipe Out Hunger model convinces, because it takes convincing, the universities to come to the table, the dining service companies to come to the table and be partners in this work. And all of that convincing is done by student leaders on the ground who are really invested in seeing the program succeed.
That's amazing. So there are different clubs on different campuses. I don't think that we have one at Westchester Community College, not yet, but that may be coming soon. But I know that they have them at other universities, like where my children go to school. Looking more broadly, how big is this problem? Like how many students are experiencing food insecurity on campus?
Yeah, I mean, you might hear this stat a few times tonight that nationally 1 in 3 college students are food insecure. That means that 1 in 3 students don't know where one of their meals are going to come from. And sometimes that number is shocking, and some of you might be skeptical of how can it really be that many people. But I love to remind us that we have something called the free breakfast and lunch program in this country, where 30 million students in our K through 12 system every day get their primary meals at school. What happens when that student graduates and goes off to the community college across the street or to the 4-year school across the country, and they might get free tuition, or maybe their freshman year they have a meal and board plan, but what happens the year after that and the year following? So this problem is actually huge, especially as more and more people are going to college to change their financial future, to change their family's life. And food should never be the reason why they can't stay in school and get that degree and quadruple their potential lifetime earning.
And what are the what kind of students are we talking about? Like, what's the profile of students? I know some of them are our own students here in Westchester at Westchester Community College, but there's big state schools and four-year private institutions. Who are we talking about here?
You know, the movies and the media have really done us dirty in terms of understanding who's actually a college student. Nationally, 1 in 5 college students is a parent. The average age of a college student is 24 years old. It's not a bunch of 18-year-olds who have gotten a bunch of support from their families, right? In a lot of ways, that's just one population that attends college. There are many others that we focus on that are going to school simply because it is their pathway out of poverty. It's their pathway to a better life. So we really have a big job ahead of us of changing the perception of who are our students today.
So blowing this out just a little bit bigger, I know that after you were working on this programmatically and working with teams of student leaders on all these dozens and dozens of campuses around North America, you realized that you needed to dig into policy. Can you just say a few words about how that happened?
How it happened is a crazy story that'll make anyone a believer. I mean, we were literally working on this work every day on campus. And if there's any political nerds like me out there, I got an email from an elected official from our California State Senate. And this woman said, I want you to write a bill focused on ending college student hunger. Like, who gets an email like that saying, as an elected, I'm passionate about this issue. I actually want to work on it. And I'm reaching out to you and not some traditional policy organization to actually tell me what works. Because I see that you're doing work that you've tested and you know matters.
I guess you do. You get emails like that.
Yeah. and to tell you that I wrote a bill on this very computer I'm talking to you from today that passed in California and has since passed in Minnesota, Maryland, and your neighbors over in New Jersey, that sent over $70 million to end hunger and has since been introduced in Massachusetts, in New York. We're working really hard. Please reach out to your assembly members and state senators. Let them know that you support the Hunger-Free Campus bill. This bill, what it actually does is send money to schools to do this work. In New York, it would be about $10 million that would go directly to Westchester Community College, for instance, to help fund the food pantry, to help fund someone there who's enrolling students and staff and so on. And so the importance of policy work is that while, you know, there's a phrase in the hunger space of you don't want to just feed the people who are in line, you want to shorten the line. You want to make sure that people aren't coming to get help to begin with because they have what they need. And policy work is what allows us to really believe that we can have a community that is food secure.
Amazing. Rachel, you're kind of amazing. At this point, I'm going to assume that one of my colleagues has already dropped into the chat a link to your organization, Swipe Out Hunger, but maybe you'll also be able to drop in a link for us about some of these bills and how we can get involved here in New York. But more just broadly speaking, what if I'm watching this interview right now and I'm participating in this awesome event and I want to know if this is how I can help? Is this on the campus that I care about, where I'm an alum or where my children or grandchildren attend? And, you know, if it's not there, how do I get it jump started?
Thank you for this question, Ruth. It is the best question to ask because we are only going to do this if we do it together. Anyone can go to swipehunger.org and find their state and have an immediate form they can fill out that'll send an email to their elected. Or you can find our map of schools and you can see if your school of choice is a part of our network. And if they're not, or even if they are, send a note to who you know an alumni, or encourage a student that you know that goes to that school to email an administrator, the head of dean of students, or anyone in student life and say, thank you for the work you do. Thank you for running a pantry. Thank you for what you're doing because we know it matters. Or if there isn't much activity, saying, I just learned about this organization. Can you get something started to make sure students have the support that they need? So there's just by getting the conversation started, we can see a lot of great progress. I mean, just a few weeks ago, we testified before Congress about this issue. So more and more people are learning about it and stepping in, and I truly believe that we can end college student hunger in the next decade.
Well, with you leading the charge, Rachel, I feel pretty confident that we can too. So thank you so much, first of all, for all you're doing. I think you're impacting so many lives and campuses and ripple effects beyond what anyone could even imagine. And thank you for being with us here tonight. It was so nice of you to take some time out. We're going to go back to our regular program and keep celebrating West Chester Community College.
Thank you so much. Have a good night, everyone.